If you're a trademark owner trying to resolve a domain name dispute against a cyber squatter, then the UDRP may be your most effective tool. As I've said in other videos, the UDRP is popular in part because it is much quicker and less expensive than going to court through traditional trademark litigation. But just how fast is the UDRP process? Hi, I'm Doug Isenberg, an attorney and founder of GigaLaw, a law firm that helps clients protect their brands on the internet. In this video, I'm going to outline each of the required steps of every UDRP case, and I will also discuss some of the exceptions that can arise and delay a decision. If you're watching this video, you probably already know something about the UDRP, the Uniform Domain Name Dispute Resolution Policy. As I've explained before, it's the most common way for trademark owners to resolve domain name disputes. In general, a trademark owner can expect to receive a decision in a UDRP proceeding about 2 months after filing a complaint. Now, that's not immediate relief, but compared with the many years involved in a typical lawsuit, the UDRP is a very quick process that also happens to be very favorable to trademark owners in appropriate cases. A typical UDRP proceeding involves 7 steps. Here's what they are. The first step in every UDRP case is simply the filing of the UDRP complaint itself. There's no deadline for filing a complaint, so I like to take as much time as I need to prepare the strongest possible complaint before actually submitting it to one of the UDRP service providers accredited by ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. After the complaint is filed, the UDRP service provider submits a verification request to the registrar for the domain name, along with a request to lock the domain name. This has to be completed within 2 business days. If the domain name has been registered with a privacy or proxy service, something I see pretty often, then it may be necessary to file an amendment to the complaint, an issue that's usually pretty simple to address. At the same time, the UDRP service provider reviews the complaint for what is called administrative compliance, to ensure that it meets all of the requirements, such as the relevant word or page count, the appropriate language, and numerous other technical issues. This compliance check can take anywhere from a day to a week or more. If the compliance check identifies any deficiencies, then the trademark owner will have 5 days to make a correction, which may involve filing an amended complaint. A thorough complaint will usually pass the compliance process without any issues, which is why I never rush to file a complaint until it's ready. Next, the UDRP service provider officially commences the case, giving the domain name registrant 20 days to submit a response, though some extensions to this due date are possible. In my experience, many domain name registrants never bother to submit a response, but it's still necessary to wait for the deadline before proceeding to the next step. Once a response has been filed, or after the deadline for the response passes, the UDRP service provider will appoint a panel to decide the case. The panel selected by the provider has to formally accept the case, and for various reasons this process can take anywhere from a few days to a week or more. After the panel has been appointed, its decision is due to the provider within 14 days. Now, the panel is required to act with what's called due expedition, but the UDRP allows a panel to extend this deadline if there are exceptional circumstances. Plus, there may be a delay between the due date and the date on which the parties are actually notified of the decision. Finally, once the parties are notified, the registrar is required to transfer the domain name to the trademark owner after a waiting period of 10 business days, assuming the decision is an order to transfer. Now, this waiting period allows a losing domain name registrant an opportunity to go to court to stop the decision from being implemented, although this is an exceedingly rare occurrence. I've only seen this happen twice in more than 20 years of filing UDRP complaints. But it's an important issue to keep in mind. On the other hand, if the panel denies a transfer or orders the domain name canceled, the lock is lifted and the domain name either remains with the current registrant or is canceled by the registrar. So, as I said at the outset, this process takes about 2 months. But there are a number of exceptions to this rule, many of which are not uncommon and can result in delays. Here are a few of these additional steps that sometimes arise. For example, a UDRP service provider may require extra time to address important administrative issues, such as the language of the proceeding, or whether it's appropriate to include multiple domain names or multiple registrants in a single case. And this process may require additional written arguments from the parties. Also, a trademark owner or domain name registrant may try to submit what's called a supplemental filing, such as a response to the response or a further response, delaying the process. Now, panels usually frown on supplemental filings, so this is something that should be considered sparingly. Occasionally, a panel may issue a procedural order, directly asking the parties to address specific factual or legal issues that are unclear or were not addressed in the complaint or the response. This is not very common. Finally, the parties may seek to settle their UDRP dispute before a decision is even reached, suspending the case for a period of time to explore whether a settlement is possible. There are various reasons to consider a settlement, one of which is that it may be an easy way to end the whole process even more quickly. The UDRP is an incredibly fast legal process that allows a trademark owner to take control of a domain name in a relatively short period of time, putting a prompt end to the damage caused by cybersquatting. Still, the UDRP contains a lot of nuances, just a few of which I've talked about in this video. In other videos, I explore more of the detailed substantive and procedural aspects of the UDRP the trademark owners should know about before filing a complaint. To learn more about domain name disputes, I invite you to take a look at other resources on my website at www.giga.law, where you can also subscribe to receive a daily email newsletter about important developments in internet law. Thank you.